We are hopefully live on this webinar today, and we will be shortly introducing the two lovely guests that are up on your screen as well. But just to give us a couple of minutes, we're just going to check that we're streaming to all the various channels that we need to be streaming to, and that everybody that's joining us across the interweb is able to see us and hear us. So couple of little housekeeping things while we're waiting for everybody to come online with us. First of all, if you are joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube, you are going to be able to ask questions today on the chat that is in those channels. So you don't have to swap out of where you're watching us. You can just click on the chat features, and our team will bring your questions into Webinar Geek with us, which is where we are right now. So you might be on YouTube and LinkedIn, but we aren't. We're actually in the webinar platform. If you registered to join us in the webinar platform, you can just use the Q&A that's on the screen to the left of you, and we will be able to pick up your questions. My guests are very happy to answer questions, so I love those kinds of guests, because then it means that we can interact with all of you that are joining us. I just want to get a quick thumbs up from my team to make sure that we are live streaming everywhere, and that we are live. So if we can get Jeff, our engineer, to just give us a thumbs up in the chat, that would be great. Or Rose, if you're out there looking at LinkedIn and YouTube, if you can give me a thumbs up, that would be great. But I see that we've got quite a lot of people joining us already. So that's brilliant. We're just going to wait a couple of minutes. If you are joining us live, it would be great for us to know where you're coming from, what country, and what industry you're working in, because a lot of what we're going to be sharing with you today might be useful to you, even if you're not in the same industry as us. So we try to keep these webinars quite tactical and informational, so we really do want to hear from you guys when you join us. Now, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to get started. So I'm going to pop up on the screen our slide, but it doesn't seem to be working for me. So hopefully you can see slide number 2, which is really the title of this webinar, which is how Huawei drove 190% affiliate revenue growth. Now, if you are running an affiliate program right now and you are interested in growing, you are in the right space with us here today, because there is a lot of knowledge that's going to be shared between my two guests which are joining us, which is courtesy of Trade Doubler, which is an affiliate network. And yeah, so this is the topic that we're talking about today. So if you think you're in the wrong room, but you're looking to grow your affiliate program, guess what? You're right here with us, and we're going to be talking about everything that you need to know that Huawei did to grow their affiliate program. Now, I'm struggling to get the slides to work, guys, but I don't think we're going to need them today, because we've got two fantastic guests, and I'm going to ask them to unmute themselves and come onto the screen and introduce themselves as well, because they can do this much better than what I can. But before I bring them up, let me just tell you a little bit about who I am, because if you have joined this webinar for the first time and you don't know why you're here and you don't know who I am, my name's Leanne Johnston. I'm the founder of Converge.io and previous founder of Affiverse, which is where you're going to be watching this later on. We are an affiliate marketing agency, and we work with loads of people in the affiliate industry to help educate them on what are best practices and how to actually be running really good affiliate programs, which is why I'm excited to have these two guests here today, because I've learned a ton from them already, and I'm hoping that all of you are going to learn from them too. So without any further ado, I think we are live and streaming on all the various channels that we need to be streaming on. I'm going to bring Miranda up on screen, because it's ladies first in my book, to say a quick hello, to introduce herself, and to share a little bit about what she's going to be talking about in terms of what she did with her program, which was just phenomenal. So Miranda, over to you.
Hi guys, nice to meet you all. It's really exciting to have the webinar with you all. So I'm Miranda. I'm the e-commerce and traffic manager at Huawei UK. So I oversee the traffic acquisition strategy with a particular focus on affiliate marketing, and also manage the affiliate programs for us, and then spearhead of publisher relationship management, budget allocation, and performance strategy to drive the growth. And then in terms of like for us, Huawei consumer groups. Lots of people might associate Huawei with the mobile phone. Like every time when I have a conversations with publishers or people, they always say, oh, it's really great that Huawei produced a smartphone. But we are not just limited to smartphones. For example, for my roads, we have lots of products we are selling. For example, wearables, audios, and tablets, and then laptops. So just wanted to kind of like give a brief introduction about Huawei UK for the consumer business group.
Thank you so much. Just one quick question. Can you just explain to everybody your affiliate program? Because I thought it was electronics, but it's not. So can you just tell everybody a little bit about the context of the affiliate program that we're going to be talking about today?
Yeah, so for us, it's kind of like a mix. So it's electronic and audio, tablets, and also fitness as well, like wearables as well. So this is all the category that we are focusing on. So it's not just limited to one category. And then sometimes the publisher will put us as the mobile phone, and I would say, oh, please, can you move us to other categories? Because for the UK markets, mobile phone is deprioritized. And then for wearables, fitness watch, we just launched the Fit recently. We have the strongest market share compared with other categories, for example, like audios and also tablets. But for our audio kind of like category, we are also increasing and then getting lots of like potential for that as well because of our product.
Brilliant. Okay, so we know the context, we know the program, and we know exactly what you are responsible for. I'm going to move over to Dan to come and say a quick hello and talk a little bit about his business.
Yes, hello, Leanne. First of all, thank you for the very warm welcome to the webinar. So I'm really excited to be here. I mean, Leanne, I was thinking before the webinar, we've known each other for a few years now. I've always been a big watcher of your webinars, and I listen to your podcast. So I'm excited to finally be on one. Be in such good company. So thank you for having me. So for those of you who I haven't met, my name's Dan O'Kane. I head up what we call the partnerships team here at TradeDouble in London. I've been with TradeDouble for a while now. I joined back in 2019, and my focus is sort of focusing on optimizing our affiliate partners, focusing on optimizing our publishers on the network, and recruiting new partners onto the network. But obviously that feeds into the work that we're doing with Huawei. I spent some time recently working from our offices in the US to help sort of growing the North America network, and now I'm back in London focusing on all things Europe. I actually was part of the team that launched the Huawei affiliate program back on the TradeDouble network in 2020. So a little while ago now. And since then, the program has gone from strength to strength. And obviously, Miranda is doing lots and lots of good work. And I have to give a big shout out to Queenie, who works very closely with Miranda on the program here at TradeDouble. Excited to speak to everyone today. And then for those of you who aren't familiar with TradeDouble, we're a global partner marketing network. We've been around for a while. We were actually founded back in 1999. So a long time now. We work with thousands of brands, thousands of publishers in every corner of the globe. We're a Swedish company. We're headquartered in Stockholm. I'm not sure if anyone has watched the playlist documentary on Spotify, but you'll see TradeDouble featured in that. There's lots of us. There's 360 employees. We've got offices in 17 countries. So we've been around for a while.
And a long while, but I remember TradeDouble back in the day. I mean, I am old, so back in the day when I was first coming into the industry. So really, really established network with a global presence. And I think that's why I'm excited about this discussion today, because it really was a partnership between the two of you, and you're going to be sharing some of that with the people that are joining us today. So just quickly before we get into the nuts and bolts, because we got people joining us from multiple different streaming platforms. If you are joining us and you want to ask questions, we welcome that. Just pop it into the chat on YouTube or LinkedIn, whichever channel you're on, and we will try and get to all of the questions throughout the webinar. But if we don't worry, because we will always answer them afterwards when we send you the replay. So you're not going to miss out on anything if you can't get to chat, but we we do want to encourage you to ask questions and stick your hand up when we're talking about stuff. So just quickly to go over, because we can't actually see the slides at the moment, we're streaming to you guys, but how we're going to run today's webinar is this kind of like 5 sections. So the first one is we're going to talk about the strategic shift that Miranda and Dan took when they approached the growth of this program, and then we'll get into what they actually did, so farming the program and mining for the gems, and what led to that growth rate, which was 190%. And then looking at the devil in the details, and then checking and helping you guys to check your toolkits so that you can also follow the kind of methodologies that we're going to be sharing with you today. So I want to kind of like go over to Miranda first, if that's okay, and talk about what led you to actually exponentially grow the program so big. Where were you when you first started, and when you took this approach that you're going to explain to everybody today, and what led you to actually get this kind of exponential growth? Because it really is like a beautiful story, and I want you to start it at the beginning and actually say, like, this is where we were coming at it from. This is how we were approaching our growth metrics for, I think it was over the last year. So tell us the start of the story. Like, how did you get involved in this project, and how did it begin?
Yeah, thank you. When I joined Huawei UK, so we obviously did kind of like performance review for our kind of like affiliate programs, because if we wanted to grow, we need to understand where is our strengths, where is our opportunity, how we can improve, and where is kind of like a gap compared with our competitors, and also what's kind of like threats we have, what's the risk we have for that. So at the very beginning, what I've done is to have a really strategic planning in terms of like how we can improve. And then when we were doing the performance review with my teams, we noticed that for last year, we actually invested quite a lot of budget for a certain publisher, but in terms of returns, it wasn't like as good as we expected. And then we relied too much on certain publisher, or like a few publishers. And then this kind of like put us in a position that is really struggling for us to grow. So for the objective when I joined is that we need to control the cost, but at the same time, we need to have the growth, which is really hard, because when people are thinking about growth, they will think, oh, if you don't have enough budget, how can you grow? But actually, there's a lot of things that you can do to kind of like make sure that your foundation is really strong, because if you don't have a really strong foundation, then it's going to be really hard for you to find the real opportunity. That's how I had a strategic kind of like planning with Queenie from the Trade Doubler, because we can kind of like analyze with what kind of like a publisher is our top performing publisher, if there's any opportunity for us to optimize. And also I had a lot of conversations with our top performing publisher to understand what's the performance we've had before, and is there any advice I can get from them to optimize it, and also get kind of like a feedback from them, because for them, they have like a day-to-day interaction with their publisher, and then they know their audience, so I need to get kind of like those insights from them. So really it's kind of like very collaborated relationship between the Trade Doubler and also our publisher, and also internally to kind of like align with the goal together.
Yeah. So what I loved about that is that you took a very strategic and close approach with your network, whereas a lot of affiliate managers and even agencies that I speak to, they kind of use the network only for tracking. So Dan, I think this is a big differentiator in terms of how Trade Doubler manages client accounts. So talk a little bit about that process.
Yes,
and why you do it a little bit differently.
Yes, for sure. I mean, we spoke about this briefly a couple of weeks ago, but the working with Miranda and the team, I think the role of an affiliate network in any successful affiliate program is sort of threefold. Now there's much more sort of within that relationship, but I sort of see it as 3 key pillars. So the first is, you're right, Leanne, sort of the tracking and the technology. So if that doesn't hold up, then actually the program can never really get started. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is obviously, I guess, sort of like the management or the service or the support that we can provide for an affiliate program to grow it. But then third, we can see the slides, great. And then third is the network, is the partners, and how do we actually grow the affiliate program, and what ideas can we do, and how can we test and learn, and how can we start to acquire new incremental orders, new incremental customers. Now working with Miranda, and I think something that we sort of spoke about at the beginning of the slides is having a sort of strategic shift in how we actually manage this exponential growth on the program. And I think it is that very, very clear goal setting, those objectives and the KPIs that we need to meet for the affiliate program. And I know that we're going to get into sort of the details of the affiliate program and how we sort of farmed the program and where we sort of see the growth come from, and we'll get into sort of the nitty gritty behind that shortly. But I do think that, you know, setting those clear expectations, setting those clear goals, and just being on the same wavelength more than anything, I think that in itself can breed growth on the affiliate program, and that's sort of where we sort of laid the foundations of the good work we're doing with Miranda and the team.
Yeah, and Miranda, you mentioned that you had very strict objectives that the business was giving you to achieve, but most affiliate managers, their first thing when they think about growth is I need more budget or I need more affiliates. But you actually didn't take that approach. You worked really closely with Queenie, your account manager, to have a look at the publishers that were in the network and to ask her to give you the kind of broader view of what publishers you might be missing that are already in your program. Because, and we spoke about this, on the prep call, a lot of the time you think an affiliate is small in your program, but they're not. They're actually quite a big publisher, but they're only small with you. So how many of those types of gems did you actually kind of uncover just by having that close relationship with Trade Doubler and leveraging the data that they can see?
Yeah, so I think for affiliate marketing, at the beginning, I wanted to point out the positioning for affiliate in Huawei. So lots of people were thinking affiliate kind of like marketing channel is focused on conversion, which is true, but sometimes with affiliate channels, it can also help with the A1 to A3 like awareness and also considerations or like acquisitions as well. So what we've tried to kind of like shape is that don't see affiliate as a single channel, but aligned with our overall marketing and e-commerce kind of like planned when we have like new product launch. So for example, we see influencer, paid social, and also like PR is the demand generation channels.
Yeah.
For affiliate and SEM is kind of like more scalable kind of like conversion engines. So that makes us to thinking that, okay, as long as there's a demand, what we need to do in the affiliate channel is to make sure that we have channels for people to convert, or when there's a demand, people can always find the channel to kind of like make a purchase. So that makes us thinking, okay, I can't rely on a certain publisher only, and I have to diversify my publisher mix. So I can't just purely rely on CSS. I have to have employee posts, close-up user groups, and cashback, and also content site to make sure because for consumers, they have their own preference for making purchase or like a consumer like purchase behavior. So what we need to do is just kind of like meet this kind of like needs. And I communicate really clearly with Queenie, like for example, for us, we focus on wearables. Then I need to kind of like have a really clear brief in terms of what kind of publishers we need to have, what kind of publisher will bring us the most or high potential. So I'll give one of the example is Reward Gateway. So basically, really strong, really big, but we worked with them a few years ago, but for some reason we stopped working with them. But this year we kind of like brought them back to our program because we know that they have huge potential. They are big itself already, but it's just we are not involved in this program. And I will consult with Queenie to see how much potentials we can have for there, and also with Dan as well and with James as well to help us to build the relationship, because sometimes with the Reward Gateway, this kind of like a publisher, you need more kind of like planning with them as well, and also kind of like a communication with them to be really clear about what kind of products you are trying to push with Reward Gateway and what kind of like offer you can offering.
So I want to talk a little bit about the farming of the program, which is the bit, which is really the nuts and bolts bit that everybody's signing in for today, because there were several kind of like metrics that you looked at within the program in order to optimize it and to get this growth. So you spoke a little bit about publisher mapping and performance reviews and kind of like optimization of certain publishers, but what were some of the other things that you kind of worked with Trade Doubler to look a little bit deeper in?
Yeah, so we also kind of like choose to prioritize like high performing but collaborative, responsive publishers. The reason why I wanted to mention that is because for affiliate marketing programs, I'm the only one looking after everything. So
Yeah.
we really need to have like a priority, and we have like a fixed budget. But there's a lot of active publishers we are working with, so I can only be selective with those publishers who are really responsive and understand our needs, and also can recommend like strategic kind of like solutions for us, and also at the same time they actually care about the performance that we have. So it's kind of like we need to make sure that we are on the same page, and also with the trade doubler as well, to kind of like sharing our goals and then setting the KPIs, and also having really clear brief, just basically have really clear communications for what we wanted to achieve and how they can help us to achieve. And another thing I think it helped us a lot is testing the organic partnership before scaling, because before sometimes we will kind of like invest a huge amount of like budget for a really strong publisher before testing. But then there's a really huge risk is that we don't know if the audience from this publisher, they are actually genuinely interested in our products. Maybe they're really big, but maybe they are not the right type of like audience we wanted to target. And another thing is that if we don't know the organic kind of like traffic, then there's a risk that even if there's not high quality traffic, even if we did media buy, even if we did tenancy, it might not work, and it will multiply the loss for us. So what I've done is that every time when we kind of like collaborated with new publisher, I will always ask, is there any organic ways that we can collaborate first? For example, with CPI to exchange the media exposure, and also to test the traffic quality, and then to see if people are interested in our products. So this is helping us to kind of like better leverage or use our budget without like investing and have a like long term for learning and testing before it actually work out.
So how did you use leverage trade doublers to do all of that, what I would want to call micro testing? Like before you went and signed big heavy deals with publishers, how did you select the partners? Was that very much directed by trade doubler? Is that stuff that you guys do?
Yeah, so basically I will kind of like asking Queenie to kind of like recommend a publisher to us. Then I will start having like a direct relationship with them, and then Queenie can support with, for example, product feeds or CPI, helping us to set up, or any kind of like further questions that related to trade doubler. So she's kind of like a really strong partner for me to kind of build a relationship with them, and also offering those contacts with me for the publishers as well.
Yeah, I think maybe just to add, sorry to cut you, Leanne, maybe just to add there, and actually it ties in quite nicely with the theme of farming the program. And actually there was sort of like two focuses that we really took with the program before we saw this exponential growth. And that was part one was looking at who are the leading partners on the program and how can we do more with them and how can we actually nurture that relationship. Miranda, you mentioned Reward Gateway before, and that was such a key partner that we know we needed to do more with. So actually picking up that conversation and finding out what they need, how do we get that partnership live, and how do we actually work strategically with them to hit the objectives and the KPIs that Huawei have. But then I guess on the flip of that, you have lots of partners who actually we haven't engaged with as much as we should do, and actually looking at how they could bring in incremental growth to the affiliate program. I'm sure people on the call are familiar with something called Pareto's law, and it's sort of the theory that 80% of revenue comes from your top sort of 20% of partners. And actually where we sort of saw the growth was actually looking at the partners outside of that top 20%.
Yeah.
See how can we work with them to bring additional revenue, additional orders, additional customers. So that was sort of like a big focus, and that's where we know that sort of we could deliver additional value on the affiliate program. And even for that sort of top 20% of partners on the program, we would then look at, okay, well, what ROI are we seeing with those publishers? What's the cost of sale? How efficient are they? And how much commission, are we being paid to those partners? Because all of that feeds into the strategy and the objectives that we try to achieve for the affiliate program.
And that's really important because, the data does lead you down the rabbit hole sometimes. Like you can get lost in the data and actually not focus on what the KPIs are. And that was something that I really liked about your approach, Miranda, is that you kind of leverage the data, but also with the context of what you know about your program and what you know about your target audience. And you married those three things together in order to get the kind of recipe for success. So also talking about global markets, because your program is global as well, like what kind of learnings were you able to kind of like pull out from the geographical data that helped you in other markets, or, you know, cross market? How did you leverage that information, which you can obviously extract out of the Trade Doubler platform and out of your reports, to kind of focus where you did all of that micro testing? Because that can also be a problem. You've only got so much budget to test with. Where do you kind of spend it to get the most bang for your buck?
Yeah, so basically for us, for each market, we have a affiliate marketing manager for certain market. So what I can see from Trade Doubler is that every time when we have a really important new product launch, I can see the performance from the other markets. And when I see, oh, actually this publisher, they are global, they are not just limited, let's say Germany, they are global publisher, then I can learn from their performance and then to see what they've done really creatively, or what kind of like engaging methods they've done with their audience, what kind of like customized campaigns they've done with them. Then I can learn from this and apply to my next campaign. So one of the example is that recently we launched Diversify, and I noticed that for the global saving groups in Germany, they've done an amazing job in terms of like customize the campaigns with their audience and then community. And I think this is something that we can apply for our next one. And another one is for Tango. They perform extremely strong in Italy. And I noticed the performance, and I reached out to Tango, hey, is there anything that we can do for next time for the UK market? And what kind of like strategy you've done for Italy market, how it can be applying for the UK market? Because with this like a cross-market learning, it actually saves you lots of time in terms of like the best practice is there. You just need to find the best practice and learn from them, and then to see how you can localize it for your own market. And also, as you mentioned, that we only have limited budget or fixed budget. With that way, you can actually kind of like leverage the budget better.
Yeah, and also use the data to lead you to the right partners, because you've got pre-learnings across the board. Okay, I feel like it's time to kind of get into the details, because you know, we've talked about the broad stroke strategy, the looking outside of the 80-20 rule, the kind of understanding that we need to have micro budget for testing, you know, looking at Pareto's law and actually digging for diamonds, not only in the program or from what you see in your own program, but also leveraging the knowledge that your network partner has about where these publishers perform. What kind of like small fixes did you implement over this time period to get the big impact on the program performance? And both of you can answer this, because you both would have kind of contributed to this side. And if you want to give Miranda the chance to talk first from the strategy side, and then you can plug in on the implementation side.
Yeah, let's do that. Miranda, you start, and then I'll pick up where you leave off.
Yeah, I would say it's one thing that we took a really close look at is our product feed, because, for example, using a very specific example is that previously we didn't put the voucher codes to the product feed when we have a new product launch. That's kind of like result in kind of like a huge lots of comparison sites for us, because like if you don't have the voucher codes for the product speed putting it in, then it impacts the comparison site. But once it's been fixed, it helps us a lot for the comparing sites in terms of the conversion. This is really simple, basic, but it can actually bring you kind of like a really strong performance improve. And another thing is, I know this is kind of like overlooked, is actually the vouchers, and also kind of like actually there's a lot of like tiny bit that you need to exempt every time when you have like exposure launched or voucher launch, because sometimes the publisher might kind of like have the miscommunicate about your voucher code. This, if you don't have the daily or weekly performance review, then you might not know the reason why this is not performing really well. Maybe because the voucher code wasn't working, or maybe the voucher code was wrong. Maybe there's like a tiny bit of those things stop you or prevent you from kind of like converting. So it's kind of like a lot of like details for that as well, and also reliable tracking as well. So for example, sometimes if I see, oh, the click is really high, that means there's a huge interest for our products, but the conversion is extremely low, then that must means something. Like it's not like our products are not good. There's a demand, but we are not converting. Surely there's maybe landing page isn't working, or voucher codes, or product fee, or you can find these reasons with the publisher and also with the trade doubler. That's why I also wanted to highlight that it's extremely important that you have a really healthy, strong relationship with the publisher and also the trade doubler as well. Because for us, for our new product launch, we only have like 1 month or 2 months for the new product launching period. It's a really short kind of like time. You can only kind of like have the support from them when you have really strong relationship with them.
Nice, yeah, and maybe just to add on to that, so Miranda, you're absolutely right on the product feed, and that was something that I know was a big focus, and that drove huge results with CSS partners, with price comparison partners on the program. And I think, you know, coming back to the subject of this devil in the details, sometimes it is just coming back to basics, and that's, I think it's just looking at which collateral, which assets do we give to partners so that they can drive results and they can drive, you know, traffic for the affiliate program. And actually, coming back to the beginning of the call, we were sort of saying how Huawei are obviously very well known for handsets, and that's sort of being prioritized in the UK at the moment. And we want to focus on pushing some of the wearable tech. Obviously, Huawei are leaders in, you know, smartwatches, leaders in wireless earbuds, and actually how can we use the affiliate program you know, effectively to help drive those product categories and drive those SKUs. And Miranda, I know that's something you've been doing closely with a lot of your leading partners is, you know, rather than just sort of setting up generic code or generic offers that hopefully partners will pick up and run, actually going one step further, where a few weeks ago, Huawei had a big launch for a new smartwatch, and they worked really closely with a lot of partners to, one, refresh the assets and the collateral and the materials that partners are promoting, but two, giving them the tools to do that. And I think when publishers have that, that toolkit or you know, they sort of levers that they can pull to drive results, they have more trust in Huawei as a brand, and actually that in itself breeds success. And I think it sort of comes back to the slide we had earlier on around how you know, the relationship that Huawei have with publishers, the relationship that publishers have with the network, and the relationship that network have with Huawei is, if everyone is aligned on those objectives and the KPIs and the product ranges that need to be sold, or the materials that are needed for a program to really perform, then everyone's sort of set up for success. And even just going one step further than that, even small things like the product feed, just stuff like upgrading the tracking. Huawei are always ahead of the curve. They're always sort of looking at how they can be more efficient with their tracking, how can they actually, you know, make sure that publishers are set up for success and the program is set up for success. And all of that feeds into, you know, just looking at the details of the program, and that sort of, you know, helps, I guess, achieve the growth they've seen.
What I'm actually hearing is there's no lazy affiliate management happening on this program, which is why it's grown so fast. One, from a technical perspective, it's constantly being checked. Two, from a strategic perspective, every quarter, I mean, I remember you saying to me that literally every 90 days you were looking at your strat plan, figuring out where you were going to be testing, looking at, you know, the upcoming product releases that were happening. So you were always acting almost ahead of the curve. And I feel sometimes, and it's not always possible, but and not to give affiliate managers a bad name, but sometimes we're often reactive instead of proactive. And this was very much a proactive strategy that you had mapped out in advance, looking, you know, both globally, also integrating internally with your own company to meet the KPIs and the budget that the C-level suite wanted you to meet, but then also engaging with Trade Doubler as well. So you were kind of like doing a lot of stakeholder management to get this kind of growth.
Yeah, I think we kind of like, we need to have like a really strong kind of a view for affiliate marketing, and also in terms of reporting as well. So previously, just to use an example, for example, previously last year, we invested a huge amount of kind of like budget for one of the publishers for 2 weeks for our new product launch in September or October. And then back then, the way for us for doing reporting or performance review is to only look at the media buy or tendency periods to see if we kind of like have strong performance. But actually, if you only look at the short terms, it doesn't work really well. But if you look at long terms, it actually works extremely well, because last year we noticed that for this publisher, we have the highest Black Friday sales from this publisher, and it's extremely high. We didn't do any media buy during the Black Friday. We only did a huge media buys in October. And then we feel like this is because like the consumers, they see that, oh, actually Huawei has offers on this platform, and then they know that for Black Friday we're going to offer the best deal, and then they're waiting for this time for kind of like having this moment to make the purchase. So I kind of like communicate internally to kind of like let them know we need to kind of like switch the way that we see the performance review, and also doing the reporting, and also kind of like having a broader or long-term analysis in terms of the performance. And another thing is to kind of like communicate internally about how affiliate marketing can support with other channels as well. So for 100%. Example, so for example, for paid PR, currently we always have like really strong tracking links and with affiliate marketing, because we know that some consumers, when they see really good paid PR contents, they wanted to make a purchase. So we wanted to make sure that there's enough incentive for the publisher to write really good content for us. And then it's kind of like for this customer journey, you can from A1 to A4, like as a like full circle. And also in terms of influencer marketing as well, we also combined with affiliate marketing as well. We don't just using influencer as like awareness or considerations. We also see it as kind of like a full cycle from awareness, understand these products, to kind of like have a moment to make a purchase, provide exclusive code, and also offer like cleared kind of like a tracking for them as well.
Yeah. And I know that you leverage some of the tech stack, like Metapic, for example. I don't know if you want to maybe talk about that bit, Dan.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So for those of you who aren't familiar, you know, TradeDouble work very closely with or with sister companies with a company called Metapic. And Metapic are a leading global influencer network. And I think quite often, you know, influencers can be pigeonholed to sort of health and beauty or fashion, and actually that's not the case in this instance. The guys at Huawei, you know, are currently in discussions with Metapic on how can they actually use their influencer network to again achieve those objectives or those goals that that they've set out around sort of pushing different SKUs, different product categories. So yeah, lots of good stuff there. And I think it's how can you coming back to Miranda's point on how she doesn't see affiliate as a channel, she sees it as almost multi-channel, right? And influencer is part of that, or influencer marketing is part of that. And then I just wanted to come back to one point that we were touching on before around how, you know, this program, you know, is obviously sort of, you know, avoiding a lot of lazy program management, and that in itself has sort of, you know, led to a lot of success. And I think one of the things that I know that we've been doing very closely with Miranda and very close with the Huawei team and the TradeDouble team looking after the account is looking at the publisher mix on the program, and not just, I think it's very easy to get stuck in sort of a cycle of just running an affiliate program, just adding loads and loads of partners to sort of try and drive additional growth. We absolutely avoided that. We don't think that's a way in which you can drive a smart or efficient affiliate program. What we really wanted to do is be smarter with the publisher mix that was on the program. So looking at, I think I touched on this earlier, but looking at the ROI that we're seeing on a publisher level, but also on a publisher category level, and looking at the cost of sale. And even that would sort of feed in and guide the direction in which we would take the program, where we should invest budget, but also where can we offer out increased CPAs, where can we offer out exclusive codes. And then just coming back to one point we mentioned before, and you know, we sort of discussed how the program for Huawei is pan-European. I think it runs in sort of 12 or 13 different markets, and that in itself, we sort of see a halo effect of that across the different programs that we have across TradeDouble. So you might have a publisher who's driving traffic in Germany, and actually that publisher can easily pivot and start to drive traffic for the Huawei program in the UK. So Miranda, you mentioned before how you utilize sort of the TradeDouble intelligence and the TradeDouble analytics to sort of understand strategies and ideas and you know what works well for the different programs that run in those different markets. But I think that also happens on the other side of the fence, where you have partners who can look at how they can drive revenue and how they can drive sort of results for Huawei, you know, across multiple different regions and across multiple different markets. So yeah, lots and lots of stuff to unpick there. But yeah, that's just my 2 cents.
And also, you know, we forget about the phrase, and I am going to say it, the riches are in the niches. Like in this kind of program where there are multiple products, multiple geos, you know, there's so much niche stuff that you can go and have a look at and actually extract like diamonds from. And I think that's exactly what you tasked yourself with, Miranda, and why you got to actually see the results of all of these little micro changes. And I think we spoke about that as well. It's not any one big thing that you did on the program that caused this growth. It was all of these small little micro levers that you pulled and improved and looked at and came back to. Because the other thing that people forget is that affiliate programs they're cyclical. So, what you did 3 months ago, you might have to do again in 6 months because, there's another whole calendar, there's a new product launch. So you're never doing one thing as once and done. It's a constant incremental checking and increasing, looking at all the different things and spreading yourself across the program in all those different niches so that you can extract the value. Because when a program's smaller and there's not that many affiliates on it and it's not a big global program, it's easy. You just add affiliates on it to make it bigger. But when you're dealing with a huge, massive established program like this, it gets a little bit harder to find where you can get the incremental uplift and where you can get the margins of increase. I just want to stop for a minute here before we get into the toolkit, which is really like the takeaways and the nuggets for everybody, because we are getting some questions in. So Eva, thank you very much for asking your question. No, I don't think you missed it, but your question was, the big challenge is, how do we keep costs under control? How do you grow your performance without tenancy budget or even very low CPAs? So I don't know if one of you wants to take that one, maybe Miranda. If you were kind of like tasked with growing the program without a big budget, what were some of the things that you looked at to actually make that happen if you didn't have a big tenancy budget to kind of do incremental testing with? And Dan, you could come in on that one too. So thank you, Eva, for the question.
Yeah. I think for us, what we've done is that we reviewed, we kind of like did a shift for budget allocation. So for example, previously we spent lots of like budget for Google Shopping ads, but because we are working with really strong CSS partners this year, for example, RapBrain, The Loop, it actually saved us lots of budget from the Google Shopping ads, because for them they can actually help us to do kind of even better job in terms of like when there's need, there's a demand. This is one thing. And another thing is that if you have a limited budget, then you think about the budget you can invest in the specific category, not just a general kind of like media placements. For example, previously we love putting our media placement for homepage banner, but then it doesn't, like for lots of publishers, for example, the audience, maybe they are not our target audience. Some of those people, they have specific needs. For example, they just wanted to buy the fitness watch, or they just wanted to kind of like buy the audio products. Then we need to make sure that we have exposure for the category itself, because actually it's much cheaper than like buying the homepage kind of like a banner.
Placement.
And also and also be more specific, be more targeted in terms of the audience that you wanted to target. So for example, we focus more on kind of like a service email, only targeting those target audience we wanted to target. So it's like more specific in terms of your strategy as well. And another thing in terms of like without tenancy budget, you have like it's quite hard for you to have like a low CPA, and also with no tenancy budget to achieve a really strong scale performance. But in terms of the CPA, we noticed that like one of the strongest one is the cashback one, because basically if you increase the CPA, if you increase the CPA, that means the consumers, they have higher cashback rates. For those people who wanted to kind of like make the purchase, they stopped making purchase because maybe they wanted to see if there's other benefit. If you increase the CPAI, then for the cashback rate, then you can just basically convert those people who have a really strong need. They just need a little bit push for making this purchase.
So getting very clear on where you want to spend your money. You don't have to spend it on everything. And how often do you actually negotiate media kits with publishers? Like if they say this is our package option, how often do you actually go back to the publisher and say, well, I don't need that, I only need this bit, and that's the budget that I have? Do you ever push back with publishers that way?
Yeah, I feel like this is also a new process we are having internally as well, because for example, for the publisher, they wanted to have strong performance, but also they want you to book tenancies with us. But for us, if we wanted to book tenancy, then we need to see the performance first. So if there's strong performance, or at least a really organically there's a average or like a moderate performance, then it's going to be really hard for us to invest the money. So you just need to understand where you can invest the money the most, and then what kind of like a media placement or what kind of publisher can give you the highest conversions. Because you only have limited budget, you can only invest to those high performing one.
So publishers, if you're tuning into this, you just heard how to pitch yourself properly to an advertiser that has a limited budget. But Dan, what did you want to add?
Yeah, I was just going to say that, you know, and I think Miranda, you made this point quite nicely earlier on, is that, you know, the relationship between a publisher and a brand is very much a partnership. It goes two ways. And I think the responsibility on the brand is to provide publishers with the tools they need to effectively promote them, but also, you know, look at the CPA and is it competitive, and does it actually allow the publisher to do what they need to do and actually be rewarded for it. So that's one side of it. And coming back to Eva's question around how can we control budgets, actually, you know, looking at what the CPA that's being offered is, and how does that compare to competitors, and does it actually give that partner enough leeway and enough, you know, room for growth or room to promote that program. So that's one side of the fence. The other side of the fence is, and Miranda, you made this point earlier, is that there's a lot more I guess willingness or trust in a partner if you have that level of engagement. And I know that's a challenge. We have some partners we speak to, you might send an email and it might take 2 weeks to hear back from them, and actually you sort of lose that trust and you think you're probably never going to be able to be at a point where you can start to even consider investment or consider offering or offering a code. So I think, again, another piece of advice for publishers on the call is communication goes such a long way. Especially with, you know, brand, and it works two ways, right? And for Miranda, who's speaking to, you know, hundreds of publishers at once, it's actually trying to cut through the noise and understand who is invested in the growth of that program. So I think just coming back to the budget point, making sure that the CPA is competitive in the spirit of a partnership. You know, we need to reward the partner for the good results that they drive, but also engagement is a big part of that. So that's my thought on Eva's question.
Also, I think. Sorry, just one more point I wanted to add is that because we have our unique kind of like internal process in terms of media buy or performance review. So I always make it really clear to the publisher, if we wanted to do the media buy or do the investment, we always kind of like do the performance review in the past 1 quarter or past a year, and also our past media buys like campaigns, and then with this very clear kind of like process internally, they know that okay, actually if we wanted to get the budget, then we wanted to reach this level of like reporting for Huawei. And one of the examples I wanted to point out is voucher codes. So they after lots of quarters like media buy, they actually create a really strong reporting for me. And then this format is exactly the format that I'm going to kind of report internally when I get another budget or next budget for my next campaign. So I feel like voucher code really kind of like understands how to kind of like understand it's not just about like media buy, it also kind of like how we can improve the performance, how we can actually using the media buy to prove that this is resulting for the really strong performance.
Yeah, totally. All right, so let's get to the toolkit, because everybody's here for a reason. They want to know one of the 6 things that they need to take away from this. So I'm going to hand over to Miranda to just talk about what she used as her toolkit, and then Dan, you're welcome to kind of jump in on this, both of you.
I think for kind of like for the toolkits, we kind of like mentioned almost all of them before, but I just wanted to highlight that the most important thing for you to keep the budget, keep the cost, and then make sure you have a strong growth is always to examine your current performance and understand where is the gap, and is there anything that you can optimize to make sure that you have really strong foundations to kind of like fix all of those basic things, and also sometimes even for the relationship or partnership as well, because sometimes if one of our publishers, we had a really fairly strong performance, but we were struggling to have a better relationship with them. This is how James from Tradeable and Queenie, and also then to kind of like jumped in to help us to build a stronger relationship. And then this relationship definitely helped us to kind of like made this publisher as one of our top publishers for the performance. And another thing is that to make sure that you don't rely on one publisher to always have a very healthy, balanced, diversified publisher mix, because sometimes, for example, just say if there's issues for product speed, but then you always have close-up user groups or cashback or voucher code that can help you. If there's any issues about close-up user group, then you always have other channels to help you. So make sure you don't rely on certain publishers or certain type of publishers. And then another thing, as mentioned, like strong network and publisher relationship is extremely important, because it's kind of like, it's not one person's effort makes everything. It's kind of like a mutual effort from external and internal to build it together. So you really need to have strong pictures in your mind how those things can help you to build better programs and also better performance as well. And then the last thing is to communicate with about what kind of reporting is something that can help you help us for the internal buy-in, and then for the publisher to understand what's kind of metrics, what kind of performance can help us to unlock the next media buy or tendency booking.
And then just to add on to that, and maybe one point that I really want to hammer home, and this is what the team at Huawei have really sort of hit the nail on the head with the trade doublet, is leveraging the relationship that they have with their network. And I think quite often that's something that's very basic that sometimes can sort of go amiss. Trade doublet has hundreds of colleagues speaking to thousands of publishers every day, networking, finding new opportunities, having them in the office. So a network's responsibility is, among other things, one of the network's key responsibilities is bringing new partners, new opportunities to advertisers that we work with. So our responsibility is to work super closely with Huawei to bring on new partners that will have a full funnel approach all the way from awareness through to conversion. How can we actually hit the objectives that Huawei need? So as long as the network, and this goes for any sort of agencies or brands who are on the webinar at the moment, you need to leverage that partnership, and you should be speaking to your network, finding out who you should be working with, what works well for your competitors, what up and coming trends are there, what publisher types are emerging, and the network's responsibility is to share that and be transparent. And it comes back to a few other points that we have on the screen here around sort of giving that clear view of performance and suggesting the right publisher mix, and all of that is a big part of the network's responsibility. So please speak to your account manager, your publisher manager, and see how they can support, because they're sitting on the data and they have the relationships to help achieve growth.
Okay, so from everything that you guys have said, I've summarized it into 10 simple points because my brain works that way. So for everybody listening here, now's your chance to stick your questions into the Q&A, because we're going to be wrapping this up. But the 10 steps that I took, because there needs to be like a really simple takeaway from this, and when you guys are rewatching this later, because I know it's a lot to take in on the live, but my 10 steps for all of you, from summarizing everything that Dan and Miranda have shared here today on this particular case study, which we've decided to share with you, is 1, assess what are you trying to achieve, because you can maybe only test one thing per quarter. So assess what it is that your business wants you to actually achieve. Get comfortable testing, but not testing everything everywhere all at once. Testing small incremental things, just the segment that you need, just the space that you need, just the partner type that you need. Remember Pareto's law. I love that. And look outside of that top 20% to get your growth first. Test your tracking. 5 is diversify your publisher mix, because every quarter you're going to need to be telling a new story. You might need to be changing up the mix of partners that are in it. Set your budget plan is number 6. Build your relationships, and that's your relationships internally with all of the other department stakeholders like Miranda did, but also your relationships externally with your publisher and also with your network. Set your KPIs, be very clear about what it is that you want to achieve in this period, because you can't be everywhere all at once, omnipresent. Beef up your communications. You heard how Miranda was kind of building her relationships with her partners, understanding where she could get incremental value from all of the different things that the partners could offer her, not just accepting what was in the media kit placed in front of her, but actually asking what works for me, what works for you, but also what works for me. And then last thing is look at your data and get your reporting in check. She was looking at her QBRs with her network account manager every single quarter. There really is it's not brain surgery, but it is a lot of hard work, guys. There was a lot of hard work that went into this, both from the network side and also from the client themselves and their own, like testing and data. There was a lot of looking into the niches. This wasn't easy. It's not going to be easy for you to grow your programs. We're working in a competitive environment, but it does take a lot of work, and that is what shines in this particular case study that we've shared with you today. I've seen a couple of questions come in, so are you guys happy to stay on just a couple of minutes longer to answer some questions?
Of course.
Even though we're over time. So okay. There's a question coming in here from outside of this platform, so we don't actually know whether it's from LinkedIn or YouTube, but thanks for watching LinkedIn and YouTube. Based on your success here, was there a publisher model that surprised you, or a tactic you think that is often underestimated but can be a game changer?
Maybe I can comment on that one. So Miranda, one of the big points that we covered in the Devils in the Details is the big piece around product feeds. And I think it is very easy for brands to overlook how important a product feed is to drive results on a program, particularly when there is a reliance on CSS or price comparison partners.
Yeah.
Product feeds vary in quality, especially for brands who might be using like a Shopify plugin or a WooCommerce plugin or something like that, where they install an app that runs the product feed for them. More often than not, you sort of get what you pay for. And I know that the team at Huawei did a lot of hard work to really engineer and improve the quality of their product feed. So looking at the parameters that were included, looking at the parameters that partners needed, whether it's Google for running CSS campaigns or Bing, or just a price comparison site who wanted to actually compare products across different retailers and different merchants, and looking at the parameters they need. Now, I know that is something that coming back to the question on, I guess a publisher type that surprised you, and it's not groundbreaking. CSS isn't something that's just, that's sort of emerged overnight. It's been around for a while now, but it's so powerful when done right. Miranda, would you agree with that?
I think CSS partner definitely help us a lot in terms of conversion, and also I just think the communication with the CSS publisher is also important, because, for example, when there's sometimes we have issues with our Google Merchant Center as well. Sometimes they just the product doesn't get approved, so we wouldn't be able to spend our Google Shopping ads. Then this is how product feed and the CSS partner helped with the conversion, because basically to make sure that when people search for our new products, they can always find a way to make a purchase. Because for the consumer, they don't need to understand, or they don't see the big difference whether this is run from Huawei itself or whether it's run from the CSS publishers, because basically they go to the same landing page.
Yeah. Okay. So some key takeaways here for you guys as we wrap up this webinar today. We don't seem to have any more questions coming in from our audience. I think we've shared quite a lot, including 10 steps that you can take away and use as a checklist for you to also grow your affiliate program, no matter what program you run. Is there any last things that you want to leave our audience with today? Just one nugget of advice that you would give to somebody who's looking to grow their program and maybe not sure where to begin?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, maybe I just add, and two themes of this sort of webinar was farming the program and the devil's in the details. And I know that people are probably sick of us saying the devil's in the details, but that's the key takeaway, is that program growth doesn't happen overnight. You have to go back to basics. You have to look at the partners you have on the program. How are they driving results? What do they need to drive results? And how can you help them, get the things they need? So that's my view, is that what the team at Huawei did really well with support from the team at Trade Doubler is looking at the program, looking at the publisher mix, looking at the ROI, looking at the cost of sale, and that is just very simple basics that guided the direction in which we should take the program. And there's lots of other stuff that sort of feeds into that, around exclusive codes, working with closed use groups, looking at retail media, looking at conversion rate optimization, looking at CSS partners, loads and loads of stuff. But it all boils down to going back to basics, and I think that's sort of the key point that I think people should take away.
Love that. Back to basics. Miranda, what about you?
Yeah, I would say, and I just wanted to highlight the importance of leveraging the supports you have, or the existing supports you have, to even make it works better for you. So, for example, previously we mentioned about learning the from across the market. But I also wanted to point out that you can also learn from the trade doubler and also from other brand peer as well. So for example, for Metapic, this is the publisher we always wanted to kind of like have a goal or have a testing for us. But then because there's so many priorities for us for the publishers where we wanted to test out. But I remember I went to an industry event where lots of like brands, they organically promoted Metapic, and also kind of like having a really strong compliment about the Metapic, about how transparent for their tracking, how good for the like influencer selections or sourcing for them. And then this is how I got the impression that, actually this is working for lots of brands, they are working really well. Then I have like some data I can feedback internally about that, and also internally for other brands, for other markets, they are using Metapic for the new product launch, and I can learn from them for the data. So it's kind of like leveraging all the resources you have to help you to make the decision, and I help you to have like a better stakeholder management when there's like buying or when there's a budget allocation as well.
Brilliant. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up there because we are well over time, but it has been a pleasure to have you both on this webinar today. To all of our audience, thank you so much for engaging with us and asking questions. We hope that you've been able to extract some value out of learnings that Miranda and Dan have shared with you today. And thank you, Trade Doubler, for bringing this podcast or this webinar to life. It's been a pleasure to have you both on the webinar today. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you, Leanne. Thanks for having us. It's been a pleasure. And thanks, Miranda, for your great insights.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Leanne. And thank you for the Rosen and Jeff behind the scenes as well.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.